is the State Department's Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security. She will attend the Peace Memorial Ceremony in Hiroshima on Thursday and another service in Nagasaki on Sunday. U.S. Ambassador to Japan Caroline Kennedy will join her. Kennedy is attending the services for the second straight year. Kennedy's predecessor, John Roos, attended the event in Hiroshima in 2010. He was the first U.S. ambassador to do so. Some Americans still say the bombings were necessary to end World War II. Scott Mueller's attendance at the services is considered a sign of President Barack Obama's commitment to nuclear disarmament. Obama has championed the cause since he took office. About 300,000 people have died in Hiroshima due to the direct effects of the bombing or its after effects. Many of those who survived have spent their lives hiding what they went through. They consider talking about their ordeals taboo, but one man who endured the attack now wants his voice to be heard. NHK World's Misako Oshie reports.
Okihiro Terao goes to the atomic bomb dome almost every day. He brings stained glass models of the structure that he's made. The 74-year-old survivor talks to visitors about the damage the bombing caused to the city and shares the stories of the people who lived through it.
家が焼け落ちて住むとこがなくなっちゃった。で、生活も一定してどん底になる。小さな活動ではあるけども。
I know it's a little thing, but people from many countries stop by. I'm sure my story will spread if those who visit tell others or hand it down to the next generation.
On the morning of August 6th, Terao was playing with his brothers about 4 kilometers from central Hiroshima. Suddenly, he heard a roar and saw a flash. Then, a strange-looking cloud spread across the sky. His mother, Shizuko, was on her way downtown, close to the epicenter. She was injured but survived. His father had died in China while serving in the army. After the war, the bereaved family moved from place to place. They found that people from Hiroshima were often shunned. Some believed they carried disease. The reaction of their neighbors hurt the brothers. Shizuko worried that her sons would have problems finding jobs and getting married.
My mother sat my brothers and me down one day and said, "Never tell anyone we were exposed to radiation." She ordered us to keep silent about the bombing.
Shizuko refused to apply for certification as a hibakusha or atomic bomb survivor, even though it would have entitled the family to free medical care. 23 years after the bombing, Shizuko died of cancer of the uterus. The family believed the cancer was caused by radiation. Shortly before her death, Shizuko said she hoped her newborn grandson would not suffer the kind of anguish she had endured. After their mother died, Terao and his brothers decided to get hibakusha certification. They thought it was time to finally face the facts.
It was such a heavy cross to bear. It was tough to hide. I felt as though the burden was lifted when I got my certificate.
Terao became a stained glass maker after he retired. He decided to make objects to commemorate what he and other hibakusha went through. He recently completed 2 models depicting the dome before and after the bombing. Working on this project enabled him to speak about his ordeal in public. Terao now wants to share his desire for peace and an end to nuclear weapons with as many people as possible.
Do you mean I said?
Very important. I would have all these
videos
stories.
for the peace?
No, it's not just the stories of people.
Okay.
Terao feels it his responsibility as one of the last remaining survivors to talk about what happened, and he wants to honor his mother's struggle.
70年経っても
The war will never end for us, even after 70 years, as long as we live in fear of the long-term health effects and remain in the shadow of the bomb.
As Terao stands beside the symbol of the horrific event that affected the lives of so many people, he remains resolved to help prevent such suffering from ever happening again. 美佐子教え NHK World 広島
Our special coverage, The War 70 Years On, will continue throughout the summer. Many Japanese who migrated to mainland China in the 1930s and 40s were left behind in the aftermath of World War II. Thousands were children who were taken in by rural Chinese families. Their experiences inspired the TV drama
No.
Daichinoko or
This is not about Chinese, Japan.
China co-production made
You
50 years
Asian
ago.
girl,
The
okay?
Chinese star of the series was in Tokyo recently and shared his thoughts on the relationship between the countries today.
Why?
Xu is 85 now and still has vivid memories of life during wartime. He says he had negative feelings toward Japan for a long time.
Japanese soldiers forced us to bow to them, and I hated it. I used to take the long way to school to avoid them. Those feelings of oppression remained, and I had an aversion to Japan for a long time.
But his work on Son of the Earth changed his views. The drama revolves around a Japanese boy who was separated from his family in the confusion at the end of the war. Zhu plays a teacher who takes the boy in and raises him.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Let me see.
The adopted father experiences hardships and recriminations from his countrymen for taking in a child of the enemy. Zhu's sensitive portrayal of his character's emotional turmoil impressed Japanese audiences.
Well, thank you.
Zhu told a crowd in Tokyo about some of the highlights from an acting career that spanned nearly 7 decades. And he spoke about his time on Son of the Earth.
Son of
He
the
said
Earth?
one thing that impressed him was the politeness of the Japanese crew.
I have fond memories of many things from the time when we were shooting.
And he talked about Toyoko Yamasaki, the late author of the novel that is the basis for the drama.
She was a great writer and poet. The words "Son of the Earth" made my heart tremble, like a beautiful poem.
After many years, the orphan child meets his biological father. The father asks him to return to Japan and live with him, but the son decides to stay in China.
My hope is that the people of China and Japan will get along as friends forever. That same feeling is what drove Miss Yamazaki to write Son of the Earth. But regrettably, some people don't want our two countries to be friends. This story is a message to them.
The actor took up a brush and wrote this message for Japanese and Chinese working to mend their countries' relationship.
If young people in both countries try hard, they can make their hearts one.
He has written the characters for One Heart, the name the Chinese father gives to his adopted Japanese son.
The head of Japan's largest opposition party